Hello and welcome to a new episode. We're going to be working on Unit 3, Lessons 3 and 4. We're doing the same topic at the weekend. Let's get started with our objectives for the day. We're going to be asking and answering questions about spending time with friends. We will listen to a telephone conversation and answer questions. We will practice phoning to make arrangements. We will carry out an internet search about telephone lines in Egypt. We will read about Wadi al-Hitan and answer questions. We will use critical thinking skills to discuss the importance of protecting ancient sites. So I would like to ask you, how often do you meet your friends at the weekend? Do you meet them every single day or do you meet them once per week? So how many days do you spend with your friends? And how often do you meet them? You can write down your answers in your notebooks. Now we're going to jump to question 2. What do you and your friends usually do when you meet? So I'll give you an example. If I'm enjoying my weekend and I visit my friends, I might go out for lunch, or we might go have a picnic, or even take the pets out if we have pets, such as dogs or an animal that enjoys outdoor areas. What about you? What do you do on a weekend? Now we're going to listen to a telephone conversation. What are Huda and her family going to do? So you need to listen out to be able to answer this question.
Hello. Hello, Mrs. Sabrine. Is Salma there, please? Who's speaking, please? This is Huda. No, I'm sorry, Salma isn't here at the moment, Huda. She's visiting her aunt. When will she be home? I think she'll be home at about 5:30. Can I take a message? Yes. Can you ask her to phone me, please? Yes, of course. Thank you very much. Goodbye, Mrs. Sabrine. Goodbye, Huda. Hello, Ali speaking. Hello, Ali. This is Salma. May I speak to your sister, please? Yes, just a moment, please. Huda, Salma wants to talk to you. Hi, Salma. Thank you for calling back. What are you going to do on Saturday? I'll probably stay home and read my book. Why? Are you going to do anything? Yes, we're going to have a picnic in the park. Do you want to come? Oh, yes, I'd like that. Thank you. What time shall I come to your house? We're going to leave at about 12 o'clock. Okay, I'll be there 11:45. See you then. Bye.
Okay, so I would like you to write your answers down. What are Huda and her family going to do? You can write down the answer to this question in your notebooks. And the answer is they are going to have a picnic in the park. So make sure, if you're unsure of your answer, you can always rewind and listen one more time. Let's move on to the next one. Exercise 3. Listen again and answer the questions. Okay, everyone, I'm going to ask you to pause the video. You can rewind to listen one more time to be able to answer the following questions. Let's get started. Number 1, who answers the phone when Huda asks for Salma? So you need to write down the name of the person who answers the phone, and that is Mrs. Sabrine. Okay. Question 2, is Salma at home? Where is she? The answer is no, she isn't home. She's at her aunt's house. Question 3, what time will she be home? The answer is at about 5:30. Question 4, what message does Huda give to Mrs. Sabrine? And that is, she asks Mrs. Sabrine to ask Salma to phone her or to call her back on the phone. Question 5, when is Salma going to meet Huda and her family? And that is at 11:45 on Saturday. Now, we're going to be practicing using expressions from the function box to be able to make a conversation when phoning, to make arrangements, to do some of the activities in the box at the bottom of the slide. So at the top of the slide, you have the functions box, the expressions you will use, and at the bottom, you have a box that displays the activities that you may discuss. So you can always read the example on the right-hand side. Let's read it together. May I speak to Ahmed, please? Who's speaking, please? Now, if I'm going to make some arrangements, I may say, hello, Huda speaking. I would like to play a game. Is Salma there to play with me? You can always use the function box and the activity box to create questions and answers when making phone arrangements. Now let's jump to the internet search. I would like you to look up when Egypt had telephone lines and jot it down or write it down in the comments section. I would love to read them. Okay, now we're going to be jumping to lesson 4. We're going to be reading a passage about Wadi al-Hitan. Let's get started. Wadi al-Hitan is a large area in the Western Desert. It is very important natural site because there are many whale bones, skeletons, and fossils there. The fossils are 40 to 50 million years old. People first found the bones and fossils in 1902. At that time, there were not many visitors to the area because the desert roads were too difficult to drive on. By the 1980s, people could drive more easily through the desert and more visitors started arriving. In 2005, UNESCO decided that Wadi al-Hitan should be protected. There are other famous places like Wadi al-Hitan that UNESCO protects around the world. For example, the Jurassic Coast is an area in the south of England where some of the fossils are over 100 million years old. UNESCO looks after the world's most important places. Now, I would like you to match the words and the pictures. So we have fossil, skeleton, and whale. Picture A is a whale, picture B is a fossil, and picture C is a skeleton. So a whale is basically a sea creature, and a fossil is the remains of an animal that has died, and the skeleton is the bone part of an animal after it has died and died. Now we're going to answer the following questions. You can always reread the text to check your answers. Why is Wadi al-Hitan an important place? Why is Wadi al-Hitan an important place? Write down your answers and let's check together. Because there are so many ancient whale bones, skeletons, and fossils there. So Wadi al-Hitan is an important place because there are so many ancient whale bones, skeletons, and fossils there. I'm sure that people like to study them. Paleontologists like to study them. Now, let's go to question 2. Why didn't many people visit it before the 1980s? Write your answers down and let's check together. Because the desert roads were too difficult to drive on. So in the past, people could not visit Wadi al-Hitan because the desert roads were not paved or were not easy to drive on. Question 3. Why do you think UNESCO wants to protect Wadi al-Hitan and the Jurassic Coast? You can always go back to the text to check. The answer is because they both have fossils which can teach us about the past. So both Wadi al-Hitan and the Jurassic Coast have fossils that teach us about the past. It gives us knowledge about the past that we probably don't have information about. Now we're going to jump to question 4. Which has the oldest fossils, Wadi al-Hitan or the Jurassic Coast? And the answer is the Jurassic Coast has the oldest fossils. Now, my favorite part, we're going to be reading some questions for critical thinking skills. So I'd like you to open up your minds and let's get started. Do you think it is important to protect places like Wadi Al Hitan? Why or why not? So I would like you to think about a place such as Wadi Al Hitan. Do you think it's important for us to protect it, or it doesn't matter, we can leave it to be destroyed? Think about the reason and write it down in your notebooks or in the comments. We're going to jump to question 2. How can we help to protect Egypt's ancient sites? So, I would like you to think about ways we can protect Egypt's sites. What can people do to make sure that those parts, natural parts, are preserved? Think about ways, or you can even look it up if you're unsure and write down the ways we can protect those ancient sites from deteriorating or from changing. Do you think UNESCO should protect all the important places around the world? Why or why not? So, the UNESCO is an organization that protects or preserves certain natural places around the world. Do you think the UNESCO should protect all natural places? Do you think this is doable? Do you think this is possible? Can they be able to do so? Yes or no? Write your answers down and give a good reason for your answer. So, when we are answering critical thinking skills, it is okay if our answers are different from one another. It's totally fine. It all depends on information that we know and our own experience in life. So it is okay if my answer differs from yours, but we can discuss some suggested answers for the 3 critical thinking questions. Let's take a look. So, number 1 stated, do you think it's important to protect places like Wadi Al Hitan? Why or why not? I believe that yes, it is important because we can learn a lot about animals from the past by looking at the fossils and skeletons, and it may help us with future animals that may exist. Question 2. How can we help to protect Egypt's ancient sites? Well, we can stop too many tourists from visiting them, or we can help to stop air pollution, which may damage the sites. Question 3. Do you think UNESCO should protect all the important places around the world? Why or why not? And it is probably yes, because they are all important, or we can say no, because it all needs a budget, or it needs specific amount of finances to be able to protect all of them at once. So it's up to you to decide on question 3. Now, guys, you did a great job today. That's a wrap. We're going to talk about the objectives we have completed today. We have asked and answered questions about spending time with friends. We listened to a telephone conversation and answered questions. We practiced phoning to make arrangements. We carried out an internet search about telephone lines in Egypt. We read about Wadi Al Hitan and answered questions. Used critical thinking skills to discuss the importance of protecting ancient sites. Thank you, guys. This was Ms. Sara Bassiouni. Have a wonderful day.